Good morning, my friends. Today, I'm going over another mod showcase with my buddy DJ here. DJ, tell us about your mod that we're going to be going over.
This here is ROTK. It is a radiation-themed infection mod for Minecraft 1.20.1, similar to other infection mods like SRP and Phaerosis. It, like most other infection mods, progresses via a phase system. It's based fully off of points, which is an in-game integer when the khltchlands, as the mobs from this mod are called. They add more to the evolution, phase increases, the game gets more difficult. That's basically the entire mod. Honestly, when it comes to naturally spawning, the only things you're really going to find are reformers and reformer larvae. So this little guy here with the green tail is the reformer larva, and these guys are completely passive. They won't do anything at all. They'll just kind of sit there and chill around. If I go into survival here, they aren't going to do much. But if I start trying to attack them, or if you just give it time, they'll evolve on their own eventually. They have a kind of small hitbox, and they will run away when you try to attack. Those guys will eventually evolve into the basic infector of the mod, the reformer. And these guys on their own will just roam around looking for mobs. They will hunt most passive and hostile mobs, so if I grab, they will go after it and attack it, and try to convert it into its infected form. If they kill it, then we kill it. Never mind, chicken got in the way. But yeah, humanoids, there's pretty much forms for most vanilla mobs. So, husks, zombies, drowned, all those guys will become humanoids. Strays, wither skeletons, etc. will become skeletons. But if a reformer dies after it hits a mob, or if this guy attacks it, let's get the reformer in here. When it's infected, it will emit green particles and a radiation symbol every once in a while. This effect will expire, but if it's killed whilst it does have this effect, it will spawn its infected form. Now, another important thing to mention is when they die, they will typically drop a living corpse, and what this living corpse does is slowly spread some infected plants around it, and that's essentially it. It's just a nuisance. If you break them, you could obtain some flesh, which is useful for later, but mainly in the first phase, you're just going to store that. They can also become mutant Uthaka, which is another thing, again, for a later phase. So upon killing reformers, you can get chitin plates, and chitin plates can be combined with the flesh from that gore and string to get exoplates, which is what you use to craft the first phase's armor, being exoskeleton armor, which looks like this. This has the same protection values as diamond armor, with some extra knockback resistance. I am not knocked back nearly as much as I would be with other armors. You can also create tools, which again, these are essentially just diamond tools, but gray. Similar to the reformer larva, but kind of unsimilar, it is neutral. It will not attack you unless you harm it. But it will try to hunt down hostile mobs like, hostile mobs that attack the player. It will hunt down passive mobs under certain circumstances as well. But when it kills these mobs, it will start to increase a hidden kill count it has. By default, this starts as 0 because, of course, well, duh, it hasn't killed anything yet, but each one spawns with a random kill count they need in order to evolve into one of many different reformed khltchlands. If there's multiple of them in a group like this, they can evolve into one of the reformed khltchlands. And it doesn't actually choose these based off of anything it absorbs, it's completely random. So this one right here is the Canid. It has low health, but it's very, very fast. So if I actually get into survival to fight this here, they can notice you from pretty far away, and they do not do really that much damage, but this guy's pretty fast. Upon death, all of the reformed khltchlands will drop sewn flesh, which isn't really used too much in the early phases, but it becomes pretty useful for weapons later. The next mob is a flying mob called khltchlands. It will sit centered in place and begin shooting small projectiles that just do basic damage whilst also dealing a high amount of knockback. Now, these guys are one of the most dangerous ones. As you can see there, I already died. So the Analytium, which is actually one you can find more commonly, mainly because these guys can spawn naturally in later phases, is like the opposite of the Canid. It's slow, but it's very, very bulky. Now, all of these guys also have the ability to destroy blocks, if they are weaker blocks. So if I place some dirt next to him and try to attack him, if I spawn him in blocks first, they'll break them and drop them. They will drop all the blocks they break, so you don't have to worry about losing your builds. One is the Arachnides, which is sort of a mixture between the Analytium and the Canid. It has got mediocre health, mediocre speed, mediocre damage. That's about it. Not many of them have special abilities. This is the Wendigo, also just called the Wendigo if you don't want to call it a goofy name. So this guy is both fast, does high damage, and has a lot of health. So this guy's a nuisance. Also, I'm not hitting them. Just standing way too far away. The Surveillance was very recently added. And this guy is like the Propagator, but he has more health, and he stays mounted on the ground. So this guy will, again, shoot projectiles if I get something in here like an Iron Golem. I think I'm going to start using Iron Golems since I don't want to die. And I'm not wearing the strongest armor. The reason the sword can destroy the ground, by the way, is because it's a multi-tool. It can break stuff too. So you can see there, that one did actually spawn a Reformer larva when it died, and the Iron Golem caused it to evolve. The Iron Golem here is infected, so if I actually kill this guy, there's the infected form of golems, which are very strong. Cordyceptical Nexus. These guys will spawn naturally anywhere in this phase as long as it's dark, and this is basically just an abomination made out of bones and fungus. They are like a weaker form of the Surveillance, and their purpose is to drop dense chitin scales, which are a material used with chitin to make some other chitin tools for later. And that's essentially it for the next phase. During adaptation, block infection can start spreading. And that comes from these fellas called terminals. I'm actually going to move out of the arena to display these so the arena doesn't get infected. Spawn naturally, or when glitchamorphs kill other mobs. Now these guys, in their first stage, will despawn and don't really do much besides try to defend themselves by breaking blocks. They'll spawn a couple of basic infecteds upon, well, spawning, and place some pustulic fungal mass, just one piece. And what this is the block infection. There we go. That'll begin the spread of the block infection. And the block infection will infect pretty much anything unless specified in the blacklist, which includes things like chests, obsidian, general storage blocks, but otherwise it's free game for them to infect. As the land is infected, which of course doesn't have that happen that fast because I increased the speed, it'll replace trees, logs, wood, but also place some of its own structures. These trees here have eggs hanging from them. If something destroys these, they will drop more reformers, of course. You can craft either basic or advanced purification cores. And with how fast the infection spreads in this mod, you're going to want these. All you need to do is place them down, then right-click them, and in a very large area, usually, that was actually the weaker one, they will clear up all the infection and replace it with one of its vanilla counterparts. There's also a second instar terminal, which spawns stronger mobs and reforms, but functionally, it's the exact same as the first instar terminal. Proliferators. These guys can spawn from terminals, or the Ichor Architect, or Ichor Infection itself, which I'll show in a second. They come out of the ground, they spawn an infected, or a reformer, or a glitchophage, which I'll explain later, but those don't actually really show up till later phases. And then they go back right underground and despawn, so also a block infector, but it works a lot differently. That is the Ichor Architect. These guys, just like the terminals, can spawn naturally. All block infectors have a limit to how many can exist in the world. The Ichor Architect will begin spreading much, much faster and actually uses entities to spread. But it has a limit to how far it can spread. So once it spreads across an area, it can't really spread anymore. So it's kind of a one-time thing. This Ichor is mainly used in later game recipes, but as of now, you can just use these as a source of lenses and chitin. Killing the Architect itself will remove some points from the infection. Very heavy work in progresses, so I'm not going to spend too long with them. So when Glitchamorph flesh, the gore, sits on the ground for long enough, it can spawn a mutant egg, which has a chance of hatching into either a mutated tumor or a mutated pathogen. These guys, they're just existing simulator right now. They don't exactly do much. They're going to have more purpose in the future, and they're just here to look cool right now. radium tools and gear. Uranium is a different material. And these are basically netherite. Just basically netherite, except the sword does 1 extra damage over the netherite sword. This guy, and I'm not even joking here, he doesn't really do anything. And that's not because he's a work in progress. That's because he's chill and he doesn't really want to do anything. He just kind of wants to chill out. He's not hostile. He just walks around, and I'm keeping him there. The next more significant thing, though, is that Eldritch Glitchomorphs can now begin spawn naturally. Now, Eldritch Glitchomorphs are basically, well, they're Eldritch beings. These guys are really strong, really big, and they can break large areas of blocks, and most of them have some nasty tricks up their sleeves. So the first one is the Dorilus, which is a flying mob. This ant-like creature will usually stay in one place unless provoked, and hover up and down while scouting the area. They don't really do much right now because this was a very recent addition, but they will dive at the player and try to bite them and grab them. They will drop, of course, various different materials for chitin, tendrils, but they can also drop complete flesh, which is something used for some stuff I'll actually showcase in this phase. So the next one is the Eldritch Coveter. This one is the strongest out of all of the Eldritches. It'll wander around, and it is quite slow actually. Walk onto anything it comes across and try to infect it. When you hit this guy, there's actually a chance it'll call up Ichor Proliferators as reinforcements. He doesn't seem to want to do it right now. I'll get him to do it. Oh! He broke part of the arena. That was very not nice of you, sir. There we go. So it'll call up one of these, and it'll spawn something in before leaving. There it spawned a cow. Literally just does the same thing a first in-star terminal does. It's just a way for more block infection to spawn. So it'll place around 3 pieces of block infection. When it dies, similar to the other one, it'll drop various different things, most of which are useful. So the next mob is actually the evolved form of a Reformer, which will start spawning naturally in this phase, the Transfigurer. It's just a Reformer with more health. And there he goes. He slimed the Glitchadog. Okay, the slime got slimed. F in the chat for Glitchadog. But the Transfigurer is just a buffed Reformer. It applies the infection effect for longer, so if it does die, there's a greater chance that whatever it hit before it died gets infected. But that's about it, honestly. The Propagator is the Complete Propagator, and I didn't even show the Reform Propagator because it's not working. The Complete one is working before the normal Propagator. This is the normal Propagator. He's broken right now. Don't question him. But the Complete Propagator, this guy will buff Glitchomorphs within its radius. We've got the Complete Arachnitis. Now, this guy is like the Arachnitis, but faster, stronger, has a larger block-breaking radius that it can spawn in. And when this guy kills other mobs, the little mouth at the bottom of it is open. It'll spit out larva. So let me get a husk. That guy has a chance to create amalgamates instead of larva if he has points stored in him. And oh wow. Really? 2 times in a row? There we go. So I'll showcase these guys. These guys are the amalgamates. So the Complete Canid is just a Canid, but its stats are buffed. Doesn't have any abilities. Stronger, faster. The whole thing with the Canid, its niche is that it's fast. That's about it still. The Complete Glomerata is the Glomerata, but it has the only thing that's unique with this guy, really, it shoots faster. The Glomerata doesn't actually get buffed in terms of health that much. The Complete Analytium, a lot more bulky. It actually does get a bit of speed now, so it can catch up to you if you're not careful. If I spawn a Husk here, it'll actually start speeding up a bit. It's not as slow as its pre-evolution. When this guy dies, it will sometimes spawn a Transfigurer, since the pre-evolution will sometimes spawn a Reformer, but not always. The Complete Wendagger is just a Wendagger with more health, more damage, and slightly faster speed. No new abilities. He's also a lot taller, so you could just, like, do this and you're safe. Till he breaks it, that is. Complete Surveillance, which is The same thing as the Propagator. It shoots faster, and that's about it. You can make the Sapient Armor Set. This stuff is about a point higher than Netherite, and when wearing a full set, you get Strength, Speed, Jump Boost, and Night Vision. So you're able to see in the dark, and you're faster, you do more damage, and you can jump higher. Now, you can also use all those materials to create the Glitch Knight tool set. And this tool set goes beyond just vanilla tools. So there's the Blockade, which is the shield. And this is basically just a shield with a lot of durability that actually does damage if you don't have anything in your main hand. So you can use that as a weapon if you can't switch fast enough. The Claymore Longsword, it's a basic sword. This thing does a lot of damage. Does 32 to be exact. The Cleaver does less damage, but you'll get speed from it. Of course, it's kind of overridden by the armor. The next thing is the Recurve Grand Bow that takes Glitcha Bolts, which are something you can craft using those same materials. It's a bow that does a lot more damage, and it inflicts enemies, or well, non-Glitchamorph enemies, with a poison effect, which is nice. The Quarry Digger is a very fast pickaxe, but it also has an ability. If I place a wall of 3 here, made out of, like, I just realized this is calcium chunk, that won't work, out of a block like stone that you wouldn't really be building with, it's just like a block that gets in your way, and you hold shift while mining, and mine directly in the middle, it'll break down the whole thing and give you all the blocks. And then if you're not holding shift, you're just mining normally, it'll still mine normally. The axe has the same ability, except it's more like a tree felling ability. So if I give myself oak logs, I stack up with these, I can of course mine them normally. It won't break anything near them. But I can also shift, and that will fell the whole stack of logs. The scythe has decent damage too, but the unique thing with the scythe is has a dash ability, so you can launch yourself forward if you're in a bad situation. So I'm not using creative flight, I'm in survival right now. Now the spewer is just a nuisance. It sits in place. By itself, it doesn't physically do damage, but if you begin to attack it, it'll release nasty spores. It'll infect stuff around it. It can place block infection, spawn reformers. It just does every bad thing it can do. Now right there, it spawned a catalyst, and that's perfect timing. So, in this phase, when you begin killing stronger mobs, there's a chance they will call in a catalyst as reinforcement. And catalysts are an invisible entity. If I come here and kill it, catalysts will begin spawning in stronger mobs, and we destroyed it there to spawn a complete annelid. Spawned a golem. Catalysts are just invisible mobs that spawn allies. The next one that can spawn is the turret. Now, 4th and star terminals will of course spawn 3 of these around them, but these guys can also be created naturally. These guys are projectile-based mobs that will shoot the same projectile shot by Surveillance and Glomeratus. This guy is basically the Canid from earlier on crack, or should we say Ultra Radium, because this guy's insanely fast, does a lot of damage, and generally acts as, hey, this guy's like the Transfigurer. He's an infector. He's strong. So you saw that there. Will not hesitate to hunt things down and instantly kill them. The Broadcaster is used by one structure and by terminals in the late game. It is an amalgamate purely used to create this biome here, which is mainly for ambience and entity spawning. Killing it will actually give you an Eye of Ender, just something unique since it's more of a utility mob. Again, I said that 5 seconds ago. Now this is the Lacerator, and this guy basically has all of the perks of the other amalgamates. He's fast, strong, can spawn stuff, break stuff, infect stuff. Not something you want to deal with. Has crazy range. Glitch Knight tools from earlier using Ultra Radium, which spawns naturally through Nether Infection and terminals in this phase. You can upgrade the Glitch Knight tools from earlier into their Ascended form. So the Ascended Claymore Longsword, it's like the Claymore Longsword, but it does more damage, and it attacks faster. The Blockade is pretty much the same thing, but this thing can actually knock back entities. It's not doing it because I don't have it equipped. Whatever. Ascended Great Scythe, stronger. The ability is a bit stronger too, so if I do this... Didn't really feel stronger, but it is. It is. The value isn't super high. I'm just really bad at this game. There's a reason I'm killing these guys in creative mode. There we go. We got a good dash there. The double axe, the pickaxe, and the sword are just the same thing as before, but their stats are stronger. The bow, however, it ignores the cooldown now. So, it's the same thing, but it shoots super fast. This one's a bit harder to craft because it's extremely powerful. But if we break into the Nidus here and destroy it, it's going to start raining. That's because it starts a new event called the Glitch's Storm. And you notice now the terminal over here is actually spreading the biomes. So the Glitch's Storm is a new event that lasts approximately 10 minutes, if I got the math right. Again, I don't quote me on that because I myself just kind of put random numbers. I actually have a tool here. You can craft a tool using some stuff from the terminals called the Atmospheric Disruption Device. And when using this... But yeah, just real quickly, listen to them. Sirens will play out through the entire event. Lightning will strike. A couple new glitchomorphs can spawn. But the main thing is tornadoes. So these guys will show up naturally throughout basically the entire event. And they are large, pretty much invincible entities that will turn the ground into coarse dirt and destroy pretty much anything around them. So usually they'll just sit in place, but they'll begin moving eventually. So there's different EF stages of them, which is just how big they are, and how dangerous they are too. So this one here is, it is basically carving out the entire ground. Now as soon as the Glitch's Storm is inactive, if I use the device here, they will start taking damage. This guy's mostly just for the intimidation factor right now. It can shoot stuff, but it mostly just sits in place and flies around. There we go. It's shooting at something now. I'm not sure what it's aggroed at, but it keeps trying to get farther away from it. It's using up the game right now. That's a problem with a lot of the terminals and stuff spawning. They like to lag the game.
Alright.
In times like this, you're only really going to see the Scout and the Ambush Scourge. Second wave of the storm. The Scout is a flying mob that shoots strong projectiles. Now, the projectiles it shoots are different from that of the Propagator, Surveillance, Doilus, etc. The projectiles this guy shoots actually infect things. So this guy can shoot at, like, sheep and stuff and infect them from far away. Now, most Sentinels can drop an item called the Sentinel's Heart. This will be used for crafting the new weapon and tool added, and not weapon and tool, weapon and armor added in this phase. There we go. There it is. Sentinel's Heart here. So, this can be made into the Deathbringer core, which is used to make the Hive Mind set, and this is the strongest armor in the mod as of now. Along with something I'll talk about in a second, because this actually takes something special to make, but know that this weapon also mainly requires Deathbringer cores. Hive Mind set has all of the buffs of the Sapient armor, but it has a ton of protection. This stuff will protect you from essentially anything. So, and it's basically just a ground-based Sentinel that goes around and hunts stuff. We get like a... We can actually spawn zombies now, because you may have noticed, it set the game to night, because in the later phases, daylight won't progress, and you'll actually have to use what's dropped by Niduses to craft what I'm holding now. Let's just... This Ambush Scourge is not very intelligent. Let's get you out of the way here. Just know that they... If they're behaving, they will attack, so... Now Niduses are actually useful to break, because you can get Sigil of the Dying Sun, which is used to make the daylight cycle activate again. That way it's not permanently stuck in night. It's only a one-time use, so you'll have to go get more Niduses for other phases, and in certain phases, it'll just stop working completely, so you kind of just have to deal with the darkness. But in the first couple of phases where night is set, you can use that to stop it. And that's essentially that entire phase, because it's a work in progress.
Alright.
Metamorphosization. And this, of course, isn't planned to be the last phase with content. There's going to be more content, but that's just it as of now. In this phase, the previously mentioned sentinels and some new ones can all just spawn naturally, pretty much wherever they want. Which is similar to the ambush scourge, but this guy can actually spawn reinforcements. Now again, all of these things have like 500 health. Okay, not that much, but still a lot. If I'm getting to attack and slash at this one. It died, but know that they can spawn the Iker reinforcements and even some bombs. Now back into the thing that's made to spawn bombs. We've got the Bludge Bomber. Now this one is spawned by Niduses, but this guy can also just spawn naturally now. This is a flying mob that has a chance to drop Blisturgles, or those things, which are just annoying utility blocks, when it is hurt. Now it'll spawn a lot of those, of course, which can eventually place infection down, but there it is! And a mob called the Cordyphage. This guy will walk around and spread infection beneath its feet. It's not actually that strong, more so just a nuisance. Anywhere is the Batterator. And this mob doesn't have any special abilities, it's just really strong, can break blocks, has a lot of health, and drops some sentinels. But the main thing with this phase is that 4th instar terminals, one of them in the world, or if it spawns naturally, will form a 5th instar terminal. Only one of these guys can exist. And right now, they're just to look scary, but they're a boss. Eventually they will create cities, which they're going to place a bunch of buildings around them, made out of infected blocks. Not actual human buildings, but like bio buildings and stuff. But there's also something nasty that this and the 4th instar terminal can start doing in this phase if you kill them. And that was it. So it places some Ultra Radium, but it also spawned a boss called Moros. So killing 4th instars and 5th instars now has a chance to spawn Moros, and this guy is a strong boss that spawns bombs like the Bludge Bomber, spawns entities around it, and launches projectiles. It can also break blocks, of course. Has a lot of health. I'm not fighting this in survival, because again, I'm bad at this game and I'd get absolutely pummeled. You can see there, it's dropping bombs. And when it dies, it also drops a ton of goodies, like the terminal. If I break into this core here, you can get the terminal's goodies. So I actually dropped a custom weapon there. Gore hatchet. Drop other gore weapons too. And honestly, so Skulk itself becomes hyperparasitic mass, which is just like a nasty Skulk infected block. Sometimes it replaces itself with the hyperparasitic snare, which is just something you can get stuck in. Me adding this is just me venting about the fact that there's no Skulk Jaw in the game, despite Mojang showing it off. The Catalyst becomes the Instigator. You try to mess with this thing, it'll spawn things on you. The Nexus, interacting with it will convert the area into an infection biome. It'll also alert reinforcers, or if you touch a reinforcer. Now it did just apply me with blindness. You will find the glitchified Warden. And this guy is a mini-boss. He's got the boss bar there. It's just a Warden, but super tanky. Has more HP, and unlike the normal Warden, this guy's not blind. He seems... oh, okay. What is he doing to the snail? Get out of here, bro. You're supposed to be cool and intimidating. It's geeked out. But yeah, it can actually see. This thing can hunt you down. It knows where you are. Sound doesn't really matter, which is one thing you don't have to worry about. It'll just hunt you like a normal mob, unlike the Warden. When it dies, it drops another one, in case you want to summon it again or something, since it's mostly just a for fun kind of thing. Using various materials, you can create devolving cores of different tiers. And when you use these, it'll remove evolution based off of the tier. If you're insane, you can also create the evolution core, which adds 25 points. And another useful utility item, we showed off the purification cores earlier. You can actually automate this, and that's with the auto purification core. You will place this down and it'll automatically, every couple ticks or so, well, not couple ticks, it's way longer than that. Every 500 ticks or so, automatically clear infection in the area. and add like 5 evolution points. So yes, it does add a bit of evolution every time it clears, but it also does just clear infection. That's of course created with normal purification, of course.
Alright.
Uthaka nest, and they just broke out of there because they evolved. This thing will actually spawn encapsulated. And what this is a nest that generates naturally that will spawn with 2 analytiums in it. Of course, they evolved, so they were able to break out. But this will also spawn with a ton of eggs inside of it. You break these eggs, they will spawn reformers, but also drop various useful items like iron, diamonds, etc. If you break them in survival, of course. Is the abandoned Zero Industries lab. And little lore hint here. A company called Zero Industries is responsible for this infection existing. This is one of their rundown labs that generate randomly in the overworld. In the center here, we have a couple of chests that contain various infection materials and slime, because this is the booger slime infection mod. Radiation 2, I guess. Now, a variant of this that's actually less abandoned, called the evacuated variant, and I just placed it right next to there, actually. This one has a barrel at the top of this here, with some various loot in it. And the barrels on top of here also contain loot. Again, this is just a variant that has more loot and is less run down. Here it is, underground testing chamber. This teeny tiny structure here. So, you'll find some barrels with loot here. Nothing crazy, actually. These barrels are empty except for the one under here. Hold on, how do I access? You can't spectator mode. Never mind. Outer barrels are empty. Real loot is inside this chest. Golden apple stuff. Again, this structure is more for lore and basic loot. The other one, however, has slightly better loot in one of its hidden chests. This is the freezer here. This structure's pretty boring. It's just a little 3x3 area filled with ice. But there is some stuff you can get in here. So this whole thing is filled with loot and little lore elements all throughout it. If y'all want to find out what's in here yourself, I'm not going to bore and make this video 10 times longer, since this video is already going to be immensely long. I mean, maybe editing magic will keep this video from being 2 hours long. Smur puts a lot of effort into editing these videos. I would know that, as I am one who watches them. Now, the next structure is similar to this one, but it's an underground variant, basically. So again, right back into... It's a lot harder to get into because it requires an employee keycard, which is something crafted with materials from the later phase, or dropped by the 4th N-Star terminal. So this place just has better loot, more lore elements, there's books all throughout it. Again, it's stuff for the full experience. Actually, playing the mod makes this a lot better than just going in here in spectator mode and looking at it. But there is a lot of useful things in here. Can place a couple of unique structures on its own, like these flesh mounds here with mouths, these kind of things. Going underground, they will also infect the underground and begin replacing the stone. And fill up the lava here with crystallized materials. It's an infection. A block infection does what you'd expect a block infection to do. Place these little blue ores here called purite. These are one of the things used to make purification cores. And that's about it. That actually is just it. That's the mod. So, anything you'd like to add?